Okay, welcome back to Unit 15, Trade Strategies using TPO and Volume Profile Charts. And we're going to talk about using composites. Now again, this is one of the most important aspects of market profile because composites are going to let us order the data. Remember, we're looking at price, time, and volumes all together when we are doing our market profile analysis. And so the composites are going to let us organize data by either balanced or imbalanced areas. So if we have, let's say, 4 profiles like this, all we're looking for is if their value areas overlap by at least 50%, in general, that's sort of a rule of thumb, then we can look to consolidate this into a 4-day composite. Then what that will allow us is it'll just give us one large value area in which then in the future, we're going to use this to find either acceptance or rejection from the market. If on the next day we have a profile that's like this with a close down here, well, you can see now we're getting some value and time migration to the downside from this market. Similarly, let's say we now have several profiles that are like this, but then if we have a profile that does this now and we close back inside of here, then we're going to be using again the techniques of acceptance that we've talked about. Okay, on the next day, are we going to open? Are we going to keep holding this? And then we will be targeting the top side of value, for example, etc. Okay. And so the composites, there's an element of finesse that you're just going to develop based on screen time and practice to find the areas that are most significant. But overall, like we said, what we're basically looking for is finding areas of balance. So if we look at this, we see, okay, we had balance right around these areas. We had an imbalance, then we found some balance in here, etc. So you're looking for basically price movement to different areas of accepted values. Here we have a example of how we can set objectives for our trades. This is in the S&P 500. You can see we have this market moving mostly sideways, pushed down, and we formed a 2-day balance over here. This is the market profile and volume profiles. I just activated the volume profiles just to have them side by side. And then here you can see we did break out over here. So if we create a composite, now we're going to have those 3 days. And then what I like to do is take the value area and I project this value area into the future in order to help then guide myself to look for the most significant areas of support and resistance based on this value area. So you can see here, market pushed this day and closed down. The next day we open and close back inside. So now what are we doing? Are we going to come back down above and seek balance again here? Or are we going to accept into here and look for higher values? And you can look right here on the next day. We opened up slightly down, but then market quickly pushed up. And then we transitioned, we traversed into the upper edge of the high volume node we transitioned to the top area of this composite right over here of the 68% of value on this, okay? And if we look at this in the intraday perspective, This is on a 5-minute chart. That last day where we closed back inside, this was an FOMC news event. So this created this very volatile movement here. And then market started pushing up. And you can see how once we opened during the extended trading hours, this momentum continued. We pushed up, came back and retested the lower edge of this value. And then we just continued trending upwards during this extended trading hours all the way into London Open, which happened right around here. And you can see we even continued higher as Europe markets opened. But you can see how by having this value area marked off into our charts, this was a really great guide as far as what the accepted balanced area was on this upper levels, and then this could have guided us into making this trade pretty much from edge to edge. Here we have another example in the euro US dollar, and you can see immediately we see balance over here, push down, and then we push back into balance. Now we pushed up and we're forming new balance areas over here. So if we go back and make a composite of 1, 2, 3, 4, this 5 days that are all overlapping, we did have a close down at the bottom here, but the upper area was within this value. So if we create a composite of that, we would get this 5-day composite, which then we have a 5-day value area that I will extend. And we see how when this market is pushing up, we open up here, have a very impulsive move up. And same thing, we have a big high volume node as well, right around the edges of that value area. And you can see how prices came up, upper edge, came down into the bottom, and then we had a nice bounce off of here as well. So this was very impulsive, so it just went straight up into the upper corner of the valley area. But again, what I've talked about using profiles for trending moves, if we're in an uptrend, we look to get long on pullbacks into the bottom of the high volume nodes. And in this case, we also have the valley area confluence as well. And then you can see right over here how we had a very nice reaction. We closed, and then we ended up closing right around the point of control of the valley area. And then we get a couple of days of mostly sideways action over here. As we know that within valley area, this is where prices get sticky. There's more friction. Here we can look at it from a candlestick perspective. This is a 5-minute chart. And you can see how actually when we look at this from a lower time frame perspective, this was the breakout. And we did get a very nice retest before we went right off into the upper edge of the value area right over here. So you can see how we had the move up on the 5-minute, move down here, and then push up into this area. We did come back down again, but we've held into that volume point of control that we talked about, and then we kept pushing up and finish off right around the point of control. Okay, but you can see the significance of this valley areas, how once you create a good composite, when you find a good balanced area in a market, you just extend that into the future, and this is going to give you some very nice support and resistance edges that you're going to be able to be tracking. Okay, so have we seen then the main idea with the composites is just to identify areas of balance in order to generate one large area of value that then we can project forward and use those boundaries as well, not just the value area, because we do have the value area here, which again would be 68% of the time accumulated in this region, but also we're looking for potentially a high volume node as well. Because remember, if let's go into trading view here for a moment, you know, the concept of composites can be applied as well into volume profile simply by using a fixed range volume profile. So for example, if we just look for an area of consolidation, like we can see right here, like this 4 days are pretty much a sideways consolidation, then we can also just go take a fixed range volume profile, and then we just take this 4 days, and we can generate a volume profile of this area. Okay? And so it'll be same concept, except, you know, we're applying it into market profile, but you could generate the same thing when it comes to volume profile, or you can simply just take the composite and you can also enable the volume profile indicator on it, such as we could do over here. So if we go into Sierra chart, these are the same 4 days that we just made a fixed range volume profile for on trading view. So we would just go merge with prior, merge with prior, merge with prior. I'm used to using prior, but you can also select merge with next if you want to go from left to right. So here we have the composite, and then if we go into studies, volume profile, you just unhide it, click apply, and there you have as well your composite and also the composite volume profile next to it. And you can see how there is a slight difference at the point of controls, because this is based on volumes. This will be based on time and price, on the time spent at each price level. This is the volumes traded at each price level. But then you can use this too as well. And like we talked about, we have the value area of value, but then you can see we have some very significant edges right here. You know, we have this single rows right here, and then we have this big fat high volume node on this profiles that then we would use. Like for example, here you can see how the next day we open, came back, pretty much filled in this single prints to the tick, and then we had or market open, and then we literally closed right within the edge of the single prints here. Let me expand this and let me split this day, and you can see how this market, we went back down, closed right on the edge of this single prints, then eventually we came down. We are, let me extend the value area of the composite. Let me make it blue. And you can see right here how we came. And first we were not accepting. But again, the more a level gets hit and the more accumulation we have right above or below a level, higher chances we're going to accept in. Then you can see it did push in, out, then back in, and eventually we had the push into the other side of the value area from this 4-day composite that we had made over here. Okay, So that's a general guideline of how I like to use composites. Again, I look for areas of at least 50% overlap in the valley areas of the of each session or daily profile, and then I would create the valley area to then project, and I use those values in order to help assist me when it comes to forming strategies of future points of interest, of where value can be accept or reject, and where I can look then for value migration from one side to the next of that valley area. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. And again, this course is going to be getting updated as the months go by, and with your feedback, I'll see what other things I will keep adding to it to always bring you the best value. And with that said, this concludes all the theory of this course, and thank you all for joining. I will have a conclusion on the next video, and I will see you all in that one. Take care.